And it almost seems like I misled you a little bit at the beginning of the video, but I tell the truth on this channel the way it is. And you know, I didn't get to what I was trying to achieve, but I'm hoping that you've still enjoyed the journey along the way. Apologise for all the background noise. I just hope that you can actually hear me above it all, because as you may have gathered, I've stopped beside a river called the Redevend Brook that's actually in full spate. I think probably from the B-roll that I've just shown that you'll probably get the general idea that actually I've come out today once again in probably not the best weather conditions for trying to go out and find some nice photographs to take. But this is what it's like at this time of the year, unfortunately. And right now, you know, I've just had enough. The post-Christmas sort of blues seem to have set in. We've been sat inside now for about 4 or 5 days, or it seems like even longer. And the weather's just been absolutely dreadful, and I just needed to get out. It was starting to affect my mood, and I was starting to feel really quite bad. So I had a location in mind that I wanted to come to, a place called the Redevend Brook. And the reason I wanted to come back here is because a number of years ago I took a photograph, and I'm not altogether happy with it. I think I probably messed it up. I'll put it up on the screen so you can see it. And it's okay, you know, it's not bad as an image, but it's just a few technical things on it, and I can do a lot better, I know I can. So I thought, well, you know, what better opportunity than today with all the weather and the rain that we've had the past few days. This river's going to be really throwing the water down, and as you can probably hear, it's doing exactly that at the moment. My idea was to actually go up onto the high moor and then come back down and walk my way back down this valley, but I've changed my mind because it's so wet and windy and things are seeming quite bad at the moment. I'm going to actually walk up the valley and probably come back down the straight same way. The only concern I've got looking at where I am at the moment is whether or not I can actually get to where I need to go, because attempting any sort of river crossing is probably going to be impossible. It's just too high. Maybe up on the higher moor where it's starting to collect water and build up, maybe there'll be a shallower ford or something where we can get across, but I wouldn't even attempt it for safety reasons under the conditions that we're under at the moment. So it's time to walk on, carry on up the valley. Hopefully the weather's going to allow me to get some photographs and complete this video, to be honest. So I'll join you guys in a minute when we're back up on the top, or when I find something I'm going to take a picture of. The chances are I'll probably stop on the way up and grab a few pics if the weather clears. Well, I did say, didn't I, that I probably wouldn't have to go far. With a bit of luck, the weather would clear a bit and I'd find some really good spots to photograph on the way up. Well, that's exactly what I've just done. In fact, this location's probably better than the one that I'm trying to get to, but never mind. We're going to carry on with it anyway. I'm so glad today that I actually decided to come down this different route, because if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have found this place, or I may have found it under different lighting or different conditions, or gone up under the high moor, got totally soaking wet and forgotten it for the day and given up. So it's not always a bad thing being adaptable, especially when the weather's like this and you can get out and you can decide that actually you're not going to be beaten by it, and you're going to go out and you're going to do your absolute best and try and find something. Well, I've found a brilliant spot. But basically there's water rushing down around one side of the rock and the other side of a rock with a small little twig or branch or a small little growth in the middle of it, and the water's swirling around both sides, and we've got waterfalls behind and waterfalls in front of us, and it's really quite dramatic. The interesting bit is going to be deciding how to capture this image. How am I going to do it? Am I going to do it with a slow shutter speed, or am I going to speed the camera up and try and keep some of the power of the water in? I really can't decide. Really can't decide what we're going to do. Well, I decided to get down probably much as low as I possibly could really to take these pictures. But the problem is that now I've got down low, there's a few things about the composition that I don't actually like. In fact, I'll put the raw file up so you can have a look at what I've done, and I'll talk you through it. So basically, the image that I've just taken, one of the reasons I don't like it is now in the center of the frame, these two rocks actually touch each other in the composition. And I think the problem with that is it breaks up the journey of the water. And this image is all about that water flowing down and powering past the rocks and everything, and that sense of flow and motion. And without that there, it's like a break in that idea. The other problem as well is on the left-hand side of the frame, there's some reeds and grasses which are just coming into the side of the picture. And I didn't really want them in there because they look quite messy, but I've tried to crop them out, and by moving the camera over, I've created a situation where they're now actually cut off the end of the rock on that side of the frame. So I've got a little bit of work left to do on this composition. So I think what I'm going to do is move the camera further out towards the river. This rock that I'm on actually isn't too slippery, so I'm okay with it. And if we can do that, I should be able to twist the camera around and rotate it back towards how I want the composition to look. I've also got to raise the camera legs a little bit just to get that bit of extra height. And you know, I can't decide whether to include some sky in this or not. I'll probably do both versions and see what we get at the end of it when I've finished the composition in a minute. I've got my composition. I ended up moving the camera a lot further than I thought. What I actually noticed as well was that there was a nice bit of water above the rock in the middle of the frame, and by having the camera down low I was also cutting that off out of the composition. And I really wanted to capture the bits in the image, the bits I saw in the scene that really sort of struck me when I rounded the corner back there and saw it for the first time. So I think with this composition I've managed to do that. So I've lifted the camera up quite a bit, as you can see, well, as you can see from the B-roll anyway. I've moved it up quite a bit higher, and I've got both sets of legs extended. Not fully, but just enough to give me that separation, that view looking down on the composition. Moving the camera onto the rock worked an absolute treat. It's allowed me to rotate the camera on the tripod head and bring in the water on both sides of the frame. Let's put up the finished image and see what you think of it. I'm going to pack up and carry on up through the valley and see if we can find some more compositions. I'm sure there's got to be more along the side of this river before I call it a day and go home. Well, I hope you enjoyed that last photograph, because to be honest, it feels like I've been walking uphill for absolutely ever. And after a while you start to think you're getting absolutely nowhere. But that's not the case, not the case at all. Things are starting to widen and open out now. And the only thing is I'm picking up a lot of wind and everything, and I guess that's coming over in the audio. But we are making some steady sort of progress uphill. And there's another waterfall up ahead, which if I can get to it, I'm going to stop and take a bonus photograph. It's not the location that I was trying to get to, but you never know. and you just got to see how you go. Got to cross a bit of running water here now. It's clearly been raining so much up on the high moor, everything is flooded. There's water underfoot absolutely everywhere I stand. But hopefully with a bit of luck we will get to our location at the head of this river, and I can even see some blue sky. So hopefully I'll see you up there. Well, I made it up to the top of that waterfall that I was talking about. I was hoping to take some more images on the way up because it's the one a little bit further down that I actually like the look of, but getting closer to it I just couldn't get into the position that I wanted and sort of line up the images. But at the top of here I could see there was a pool at the top. It's sort of like a man-made sort of embankment behind me, or that's holding a lot of the water back, and that's creating a pool. I don't know if you can see down behind me that the surface of that pool is covered in a really bright white foam. And to be honest, I don't really know what to make of it because I've not been able to get a photograph that I really sort of like. And to be honest, it's getting a bit chilly and a bit cold now, and as you can hear, it's even windier up towards the top. So I've just composed a photograph with the waterfall over my shoulder in the background, and I've stuck the polarizing filter on, an ND filter, trying to get a fairly slow shutter speed and get some of these streaks of white, sort of like water, which are creating this foam coming out from the waterfall in the background. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it was a really quick photograph on the way up just to see if it would work. I'm getting cold, Ruby's getting cold. We're going to crack on up to the top now, get some warmth back into us by doing a bit of walking, and hopefully we'll avoid some of the rain and find our final destination. We're nearly at the top of where we're going now, and the next bit of the walk is going to be pretty much downhill after we get to this spot. So come on, let's crack on. I'll put this photograph on the screen as I'm packing up, and hopefully next time I'll see you, I'll be at the head of this river that I've been trying to photograph. Well, that's just typical really. Guess I could have predicted it if I thought about it in advance. The crossing place which I was going to take at the top of this part of the red event to cross over to the other valley, where I think now that my composition that I was looking for actually is absolutely completely flooded. As we've seen earlier, the river's in spate, and there's no way I'm going to try crossing this ford at the top. It's just going to be too risky. At the bottom of this valley I had a choice. If you remember, I said it's a 50-50 chance whether or not I go this way or take the other one. I think the other valley should have been the one that I came up. It's not been a waste though by any means, because the day that I've had so far has been absolutely fantastic. I think the next 5 to 10 minutes of searching along this riverbank would determine whether or not I've actually got somewhere I can cross over safely, or whether we go back. Well, I would have loved to have crossed the river back up there and got on to my final destination, but you know what? It just wasn't going to happen. It's just too risky, too difficult. Wasn't really worth taking the chance and slipping and falling with nobody around or whatever, or getting up to my knees in water and soaking cold, and Ruby soaking wet from head to toe as well. So decided to come back down the way that I was coming. But you know what, sometimes it's worth doing that. It's worth retracing your steps, because you're seeing the landscape in a different direction to what it was when you went out in the morning in the opposite direction. So the lights changed, times moved on, and things are slightly different than what they were. So it's never a waste. Never feel bad about having to turn around and go back. You can always go back out another day. And this gives me another opportunity to go out and show you guys that location again. but it's not the last picture of the day. I've actually set the tripod up just behind me. I haven't got the camera on there at the moment because it's a bit windy, but I've set the tripod up looking downstream and taking some photographs. So I'm just going to talk you through that one last picture. I've actually been taking a couple of different compositions. The reason for that is I can't quite decide on how tight I want the crop to be, but I'm quite happy with both of them, so I might actually use both images. It's just deciding which one's the best. I'll put some video from the 5D up on the screen so you can see the composition and what I'm talking about. So I've been looking at this wider view where we've got the river right down in the foreground of the frame down here, and then shooting off down through into the distance. Quite like these rocks right up in the foreground, but there's a particular part of the waterfall a bit further down that I really like. So I think I'm going to take both pictures. So this one looks really good as it is, but when I zoom in a bit, I don't know if you can see that. So when I zoom in a bit to that position, I also like that bit of frame down here, just in the center of the picture. I think that's really nice. So I'm going to take another composition based around that sort of setup as well, and I'll put both of them up. Actually, I'll put them both up so you can decide which one you like the best, and I'll edit the one which I prefer and put it up at the end. So I'm going to call it. I've had a great day. Didn't really achieve what I set out to achieve, and I'm sorry about the audio quality, the wind noise, the river and everything as well, but there's no other way to take these photographs other than to get down there and get down amongst the noise and do the best that I can. I also just want to say that I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm sorry that I didn't get to the point that I wanted to, and it almost seems like I misled you a little bit at the beginning of the video, but I tell the truth on this channel the way it is, and you know, I didn't get to what I was trying to achieve, but I'm hoping that you've still enjoyed the journey along the way. So it's time for me to pack up, head on back down to the car. I'm not planning on any food on the way back. I think I'm going to have a pot noodle, hot cup of coffee when I get to the car itself. So I'm not going to hang around anymore. And I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I'll see you next time.